Hello my dear friends, you're on the Military Summary channel and today we will discuss the situation in Ukraine on the 8th of August. Today we have some updates, so let's start. And first we're going to discuss the report of the Minister of Defense of Russian Federation. They gave us new numbers and today we're going to start with the south of Ukraine from his Kherson district, from this one. This morning started with two HIMARS attack. This morning, the previous night we can say, the Ukrainians attacked Antonov bridge with the HIMARS. There was some explosions and so on, and the Russians are saying that they moved some equipment, some repair equipment to fix this bridge, but the Ukrainians destroyed this equipment and they damaged this bridge, but they still didn't do any damage to the column, just to the road, just to the bridge. Another important update are coming from Melitopol. According to the Ukrainian sources, they managed to attack some warehouse, some depot of these in this town, ammo depot. And according to the Ukrainian sources, as a result of that attack, they killed something around 100 Russian soldiers. This information wasn't confirmed by the Russian sources, by the way. If we're talking about the map of this position, the Russians attacked, as usually in this area, the 63rd Mechanized Brigade, and as a result of that attack, this brigade lost around 70 soldiers and around 14 armored vehicles. Another important update from this area, the Russians attacked this 35th Marine Corps Brigade, and as a result of that attack, this brigade lost around 30 soldiers and around 5 armored vehicles. So the Russians are trying to hunt and to destroy the forces who is planned to be involved in the upcoming or maybe not upcoming offensive operation in the south. This 63rd, this 16th, and this 35th Marine Corps. These three main brigades that, according to the Ukrainians, according to their plans that the Russians discovered, were planned to be used as the main force, as the main power to cross the Ingulets River and to start offensive operation in the south. Another important update coming from the north, from Kharkiv area. According to the Ministry of Defense of Russian Federation, they're saying that during the previous hours they attacked the 92nd Mechanized Brigade and 113th Defense Brigade. These two brigades, they attacked a place where, as far as I understand, was some kind of place where these forces took rest. So I suppose that they have the same, maybe the same school or the same hospital or something like this. So the same place where these two brigades had some rest while rotation or something like this. And as a result of that attack, the Russians destroyed something around 150 soldiers up to this number and something around 14 armored vehicles. So this brigade is responsible for the area between Kharkiv towards Izyum Bridgehead, towards this area. I remind you that there is another important update, 93rd Mechanized Brigade. So we can say that the main forces that is responsible for this area is 92nd Mechanized Brigade and 93rd Mechanized Brigade. And as far as you can see, the Russians are trying not to hunt the Defense Brigade because they understand their real value, that it's just regular people from Ukraine. And the Russians mainly are trying to attack Mechanized Brigade and Motorized Brigade because this is the real Ukrainian forces. And if we're talking about Defense Brigade, it's just the regular unprofessional soldiers. So I suppose that it was some kind of, because of the fact that these 113th and this 92nd has the common place where to stay while rotation, so that's why this brigade had some losses. That was the first attack against this brigade since the July. I didn't count their losses before that period, but I suppose that maybe there were no even attack against this brigade at all. The main target is of course 92nd and this 93rd Mechanized, and of course the main goal for the Russians is to hunt these Kraken, these forces, this special, this intelligence battalion or special forces. The Russians didn't give us any numbers about their attack against these special forces, but they told that because of big losses during the previous periods, because of that fact that the Russians are hunting this area, and because of that fact that civilians and people from Ukraine don't want to join these special forces, and we can understand them why, because and this brigade was involved in torturing and killing Russian soldiers, the prisoners of war. So the Russians they have their own goals about these special forces, and I believe me, nobody is going to survive in these special forces if the Russians continue this special operation. So that's why nobody wants to join these special forces. And today we got more. The Russians told that this special battalion, this Kraken special battalion, lost their combat capability. They didn't give us any numbers, so I don't know exactly the number of soldiers of losses among this battalion, but I suppose that these losses is much higher than 50%. And there is not just losses on the ground or by artillery strike. More and more Ukrainians understand that it's not a very good idea to serve in these battalions, so there are a lot of cases of desertion from this special Kraken battalion. And their main base, the rotation base in Kharkiv, in this area. So as you can see, during the previous hours, the Russians were concentrated on the south of Ukraine and on the north near Kharkiv area. And as you can see, they had some result during this period. Another important update are coming from our Soledar area. There is a special, we know that there are a few special forces in this area. There were, maybe there is still, there was, or maybe there is still a Charlie group, the forces that located on the area between Bakhmut, Yakovlevka, Belogorovka. There were no updates about this area. And today we got another update about another group by the name of Soledar group. So this is our Soledar. The Russians didn't told us about the quantity, about the number, about the forces that involved in this Soledar group, but anyway, the Russians destroyed its headquarters in the town by the name of Chasov Yar. This is their town. They didn't give any numbers. That the only thing that they destroyed the headquarters of Soledar group, but I suppose that these headquarters were responsible for coordinating a few armies, maybe Charlie group, maybe some forces in Soledar and so on, but no more updates about the situation. If we are talking about the progress on the ground, there is no progress on the ground. The Ukrainians still hold their position. The only important update that the Russians started their offensive operation in Izyum Bridgehead in this area. If you remember, a few days ago I told you that there are some changes on the map, on the Russian sources map, on the West sources map as well. If you remember, the Russians few weeks ago, even months ago, they took control over Mazanivka. They cleared these forests. They almost entered Dolina, and the West sources map were showing us that the Russians control half of Bogorodichna. But today we got more and more reports that maybe the Russians were forced to leave this area. At least they left Mazanovka. And there was a video and report update that the Russians took control over this town, the forest, but after that the Ukrainians started their massive artillery shelling. And then we got update and video of destroyed Russian position and destroyed Russian vehicles and equipment. So they were forced to leave this area at all. I don't think about these two forests because it's a very important area. I'm talking about these forests. This one near Dolginke, and the forests that located in front of Dolina, Krasnopol and Mazanovka, these three forests. If the Russians did clear these forests, I suppose that it's not a very good idea to leave these forests because it will be very difficult to take them back. So I suppose that maybe this update is not correct and the Russians are still there, but they left the towns that located on the south from these forests like Dolina and Mazanovka. I don't have any updates about Bogorodichna, about this town, but we can say that every day the Ukrainians includes information about this town, that the Russians are trying to storm and to crack this town, but they are able still to hold their position. So I suppose that this town may be still in the gray zone, and it always was in the gray zone. And the Russian sources map are showing that this town is under Russian control, but there are a few blocks on the west, on the east of this town, this one, that may be still under Ukrainians, because they have some Bridgehead and Sidorova and these forests. So I suppose that they are able to collect some forces to reinforce. So maybe this town is still in the gray zone, but let's see, let's wait. So the Russians started their offensive operation from Izyum Bridgehead towards Vernopolye. If you remember, Dmitrievka and like Dibrova, these old towns was in under Russian control, but they lost this area during the previous weeks of heavy clashes. So now they want to return this town back. It's a regular situation on the front line. It's the same situation as we used to see in Kharkiv, when first the Russians took some control, then the Ukrainians started their offensive operation and they pushed the Russians back. Now the Russians are pushing Ukrainians back. So I suppose the regular situation on the front line. So they're like changing the towns, change hands every day and so on. There are some clashes and some artillery strikes in this back we discussed. As you can see, the Russians did some airstrikes. This information was confirmed by the Ukrainian military authorities. We got no numbers, so I suppose that maybe tomorrow, because we got this update that just this morning, so I suppose that the Russians are planning to give us the number about the losses in Gusarovka, maybe tomorrow, maybe the next day, if this strike was successful. Of course, if we are talking about our Soledar, our Siversk, Soledar, Bakhmut area, there is no changes. The only important update, that the Ukrainians started slowly, group by group. They started leaving North Siversk and they're moving their forces towards Bakhmut to reinforce this area and to be just on the safe side, because if you take a look at the map of this position, we see that this area, the north of near Siversk, is full of Ukrainians, and if we take a look at the south, we see that there are same groups, the same 72nd Mechanized Brigade that were defeated during the previous days, the same 58th Motorized Brigade that were defeated as well. So that's why the Ukrainians start moving some infantry troops to the south, trying to stop the Russians. They're attacking this area because we know that in the south it's the area of Wagner's group responsibilities. But we see that we can say that this is the second or maybe the third week of active battles from Wagner's side. So I suppose that maybe this week or by the end of this week, this group is going to start some kind of rotation and more fresh forces are going to come from the Russian side. It's like 2-3 weeks and they do some kind of rotation from the Russians. So that's why I don't think that the forces who is standing there for the like the third week in a row, I don't think that they're willing and they're planning to be very effective, very aggressive on the front line, because we understand that it's a human, so that's why they need to get some rest. And I suppose that maybe by the end of this week we won't see any progress until the rotation things are going to happen. If we're talking about Donetsk area, there is no updates. It's the second week in a row of heavy clashes in this area, so I suppose that a week ago there was some kind of rotation in this area. The Russians moved their fresh forces that started their offensive operation. They did a lot, they cracked a lot, and today we got some important update from the Russians that now they are trying to, and they're moving towards Nivolska, this town. So if you take a look at the West Sources map, you see that there is another update. First, they updated that entire Piesky was under Russian control, then they returned the northwest part of Piesky under Ukrainian control, and today they added another block that located on the south, this one, that this area is also, let's say, under Ukrainian control. If you take a look at the Russian sources map, there is no updates on this area in Piesky. The only thing that they're showing that some advanced actions, some pushing towards this Nivolska. And of course, the main idea, as we discussed, if you remember when we discussed the situation in near Piesky, and we discussed the offensive operation in Piesky, I told you that, of course, the main idea in this area to take control over Nivolska, because with help of that, the Russians will be able to cut this road, because yes, the Russians did very great job in Piesky. They have almost took this town completely. There was a lot of losses among Ukrainians. Furthermore, today we got update from the Russian Ministry of Defense that they destroyed warehouse in town by the name Vadiana. This one, as a result, they destroyed the warehouses of 54th, 56th and 110th Defense Brigade that located in this area. There, they destroyed their warehouse, 113, warehouse depot in this area. But they can't still take this north part. They can't complete the clearing operation because of high buildings and because of the fact that no matter the heavy clashes and artillery strikes and so on, the Ukrainians managed to find a solution how to supply and support this area. And mainly they are doing this using this MO4 road. this one. Because if you take a look at this map, this is the most fortified position, this cross, and using this cross, the Ukraine just need to get forces there, and after that it's not very difficult using the trenches, using the underground level of the trenches and so on, fortification, to reach this area, and they have them. They have this, believe me. So that's why now the Russians are trying to solve the issue with Nivoyska, and with help of this they will be able to establish fire control over Pervomaiska, over this town Pervomaisk, as I show, and after that they will continue their their clearing operation in Peski. For now they took some operational pause to decide what to do next. There are still heavy clashes in Krasnogorovka, but because of the fact that there is no updates from any kind of map we have, I suppose that it was some kind of fake operation, maybe just to fix the Ukrainians in Krasnogorovka and not to allow them to send some reinforcement towards Peski. So there is no update, so I can't even tell you if the Russians still have control, still have some areas under their control on the east side of Krasnogorovka. Maybe not. If we're talking about Mariinka, the Russians are saying that they control a big part of Mariinka, this one, at least the east one. But if you take a look at the west source map, they're showing that entire Mariinka is still on the Russians, and I'm talking about Ukrainians, sorry, and I'm talking about these blocks. So the Russians started saying that they control this area. So let's wait a little bit. It's just the second week of the heavy clashes on the north of Donetsk, so I suppose that we are going to see the real slowdown of offensive operation just by the end of the next week, while the rotation or something like this. If we're talking about the map of this position, this offensive operation from the Russian side is supported by the 1st Tank Battalion Somali. These the DPR forces. They are fighting in this area since the 2014. It's the DPR forces. There is 100 motorized brigade. There is 11th and 6th LPR regiment. This one, 11th motorized regiment. This one, and mainly there is a lot of Khan battalion that located on the south. We're talking about the Russians. 5th motorized brigade plot. I haven't heard about their progress. It's just this map is showing this area, but I haven't heard about any progress from their side. And Sparta battalion, the same thing, no updates. As I know, according to the information we get from the open source, the most active forces is of course 11th. If you're talking about the LPR forces, is 11th. 6 Cossacks, of course, motorized regiment, and 11th regiment, but and it's Russian forces, it's Russian LPR forces. But for now, as you can see, there is no progress on Donetsk Frontline. Important update about the progress near Avdiivka. As you can see, the map of disposition has been updated, and now they're totally showing us that Novosilovka Drugaya and Kamyanka is almost on the Russian control. If you take a look at the west sources map, there is no updates about these towns. That according to these maps, this territory is still considered as the territory under Ukrainian control. So this is about Ukraine, about the situation in Ukraine. Another important update are coming from, let's say, from Poland, from Lithuania, from Poland. This situation is not well known all over the world, but it's very important update, and I must include it and must update it. You know that the Belarus is the only ally of I'm talking about the ally on the ground. I'm not talking about DPR and LPR, because we understand that it's some these countries is some kind of proxy countries, and they we can say under total Russian control. If we're talking about, let's say, about some kind of independent forces, we understand that Belarus is a very well-known ally of Russians who gives the Russians their territory, their airports, to do some attacks and so on. And today there was a meeting on the west side in these countries, Lithuania, Poland, and this was some kind of a meeting where the forces who is opposite to official authorities in Belarus, who's in opposite to official authorities in Belarus. And as far as I understand, that was the meeting that was about creating a government abroad the Belarus, official government. I know that there was meetings in 2020 after the president election, and a lot of people were forced to leave this country because of they were involved in those meetings, and it's a crime in this country, and they broke the law, official law of this country, so that's why they were forced to move and to escape because they would get into jail and so on. So and under the pressure, under the situation that we have see right now, these opposite forces in these countries connected, and now they're doing some meeting to create the something. If you remember, during the Second World War, when the German forces captured Poland, a lot of people left Poland towards England, and they created some great government, like official government abroad, that were located in London, and their main idea was like to coordinate the forces in Poland and so on. So the same situation are happening these days as far as I understand, it's in Poland. So these forces are trying to create the government, official government outside the Belarus. And of course, we understand that this government will be supported and will be recognized, liberated by the West countries, and then we'll see what is going to be next. But this is a very important update, I suppose. And that's it for today about Ukraine. Thank you for watching. Military Summer channel reminds you that we condemn any violence in Ukraine. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes, join my Patreon, and have a good day. Thank you. Bye bye.